back to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast. I'm Pierce Levis, and I'm joined as always by my lovely co-host,
Chaz Patrick.
And today we have a really good episode for you. We have back-to-back teachers, and we're really excited for it. They're really good talkers. So
it's going to be a good one.
You're just ready to jump right into it?
Yeah, let's get right into it.
You go ahead and do the intro.
All right. Today, we're going to be introducing, this lady is one of a kind. She has to do a lot with science and biology. She was a big part of our lives and put a lot of knowledge in our heads and smiles on our faces. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Ketner. Woo! Welcome.
Hello, how are you guys?
Been good. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Do you miss us at all?
Sure.
She probably hears that a lot.
So, what have you been up to?
Work, school, taking care of kids.
Like college school?
No.
Oh, no.
Just like, yeah, like school, Sherwood School. Taking care of my kids. They keep me pretty busy.
Oh, I bet.
For sure.
So, yeah.
So for people out there who don't know you, can you give them a little brief introduction about yourself?
Sure. I'm Melissa Ketner. I teach the life science classes at Sherwood High School. I have been teaching for 9 years. I think this is my ninth year teaching at Sherwood. Yep. So where I started, where I'll keep continuing to move through.
Awesome.
So I have two small kids. I have Addison and Logan. Addison just turned 6 last week on Tuesday, and Logan is turned 4 in January. They keep me pretty busy with all of their lovely antics and sports and all of that kind of stuff. So,
well, happy late birthday to both of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
My birthday's this Wednesday. Turned 22.
Woo! Happy
You're
birthday.
old.
Thank you. I know, I'm getting old.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to bring us. Are you ready to answer some questions?
Sure. Let's do it.
All right, Travis.
Well,
what is it?
you know, our favorite segment of every week. It's 5 real questions, 5 real answers with 3 real people.
And we're adding something.
And we're actually adding another segment if we have them. It's
one confession.
One confession.
We're confessing to you.
Oh, no.
Things that you may not know about.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We started this last week with Miss Bradford, and it was just a good time.
Mm-hmm.
We had to think real deep about something we did that we never got in trouble for in school, but you probably would have been a little upset.
But it's been, 6 years since it happened?
That was like our sophomore year in high school.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
All right.
Well, let's get into it. Let's get the first question going. What had been your favorite science-related course to teach, and why?
So my favorite science course to teach right now is I'm a PLTW, stands for Project Lead the Way. I'm instructor for 2 biomed classes out of their 4 biomed programs. So right now, those have been my favorite. I really love the problem solving that comes with it. I don't know, it's got a lot of hands-on, a lot of labs, so I really enjoy doing those with those students. I also like to see those hands-on. Just last week, my human body systems got to inflate cow lungs with a shot vac, and that was pretty entertaining, and it was really gross in the beginning, and then once we got to inflate them, to hear all of those oohs and ahs. So I really enjoy those moments, and so with those classes, I get a lot more of that, and it's really awesome.
That is awesome.
How do you order cow lungs? Like how do you get them?
You call Pal's Meats. Shout out to Pal's Meats in Clinton because they help me out with my dissections, and it doesn't cost me anything, which is super awesome.
That is awesome.
If I remember correctly, you were doing Project Lead the Way. You've been doing it for a couple years.
Yeah,
because I thought we did something when I was in school with like trying to help disabled kids eat or something.
So okay, so that class was not a part of Project Lead the Way. That was something I was trying to pilot to see on interest within biomed. And then that pursued into the PLTW program with more curriculum that was structured. That curriculum I actually created through something else on my own, but I was trying to see what that interest would be to make this happen.
Okay. That's neat.
Was it your biomed class where the life flight came and landed on the field? That's so cool. I remember that. Like, we were at school, and they're like, yeah, there's a helicopter's going to land in the field. And
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, that's one class I wish I could have took. I should have took.
Yeah, it was fun. I remember that day. It was great.
I
Yeah.
remember one time, I never got to do it, but with one of your classes, you're going to the University of Missouri to look at corpses.
Yes,
For your-
cadavers.
Yes, I remember. I didn't get to do it. I was a little upset. I think I got canceled last minute or something for that year or whatever.
So I have not been, it's been really hard to get my students to be able to do that. Ever since the pandemic started, they are being very selective on who can come and who not. So I used to go through the University of Missouri down in Columbia. They have a really awesome program that they allow high school students to come in. But like I said, ever since the pandemic started, they no longer bring students in. So finding other universities that allow us to do that has been a challenge. And then not only that, it's also been a challenge because if they do accept, they fill up very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So I've been really struggling to bring that experience. But yes, it is a really great experience.
Well, maybe down in the future, before you end up retiring, they can put those body cells in your classroom and you keep a corpse in there.
Yeah. Well, I have the skeleton in my classroom.
You still have that?
Yeah, I still have it.
Oh
It sits behind my desk. And I have students who ask me about it, and I literally tell them, like, this is where bad kids go.
That's awesome.
What was its name? I forgot.
Oh, goodness. I don't know if he had a name.
I thought
Schlichter had one too that we named.
Oh, yes. I know Slichter had a skull. That was like his hall pass.
Oh.
I remember that.
I don't know. So I don't know if the skeleton in the case that Kirchhoff made for me actually has a name.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my other rolling mannequin, like bone mannequin, did have a name, and his name was Steve.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought something was Steve. Yeah,
Yes.
That's right.
What class did we? I think the only class I had was was biology, and I had you in homeroom, but I don't know.
I had Miss Ketner in Bio 1, Bio 2, some class that we were doing a lot of labs, what I was saying, with trying to help the disabled kids, like make up inventions for them. And then something else, I can't remember what class it was, but...
I think you were in my STEM class.
Yes, STEM, yeah,
I think
STEM.
it was STEM.
Yes, STEM, yep. That's the other one. I had a lot of fun. That was probably one of the funnest classes I ever did.
I'm glad to hear that.
I loved it.
I took STEM with Price in my 8th grade year, and we got to go to KU. That was really fun. They had like a big, I don't know, like we like all made something, and then we had to go travel to. I don't know if they still do that, but that was really fun.
I think they do because I think they have a high school version because I just took kids fall semester to KU for the high school version, and they had different events. I don't know how it works for the middle school one, but like they had an aerospace event, they had a civil engineering event, they had a biomed event, and I took a couple of different students. I took a group to compete in the civil engineering contest, and then I had another group that participated in the aerospace part.
I just remember I made a box, the soapbox cars basically. I had to have I started with a piece of wood, and I made like and there was like a theme to it. So like whatever you made had to go with the theme of their event. So like I made an F1 car because it was like called International. So like everyone races. I don't know. They drive everywhere.
I remember that. That was that was back in, I think, my 8th grade year. We went wherever we went. We built the airplane model, and we had to put so many marbles in, and it was like a minimum of like 8 marbles in it. But if you added more, you get extra points, and you had to go so far to a distance, and you get more points as farther to go.
Interesting.
And it worked. It went out perfect until we got there and we threw our airplane, and it just you got 3 attempts to try to get farther. Very first throw, it nosedived right on the ground and blew up. It was
that's the worst.
Yeah, and it was going far. Like I remember it was me and Dustin and someone else, and we were for sure we were gonna win that. And on the first throw, hit the ground and blew up.
It's rough.
Yeah.
All right, well, that gives us a segue into our next question. What made you pursue a career path in teaching, and what made you choose the science life?
I always have enjoyed science, always. Like, since a little kid, that was always more on the medical side. I actually started out as a pre-med major at Mizzou. And then I got into genetics class, and that was a bit overwhelming. It was the very first time that I've ever failed a test in my life. And that was like, I don't know if this is what I should be doing or not. but I've always had that passion. I ended up changing my major. And then I ended up going into a job that I absolutely hated. I could not stand it. It drove me insane. And that was my motivation to pursue something in teaching. My parents actually always told me that they thought that I would be a really good teacher. Like, I think they just have always known that that's what I needed to be. And so it's like, okay, finally, okay, let's do this. So it was that job that really pushed me to pursue and go for that master's in teaching. And if it wasn't for that horrible job, who knows what I would be doing. So I'm kind of thankful.
Well, your parents were really right, because I mean, I enjoyed your classes when I had you. I think a big deal with like me not coming to other of your classes is that like they let us take ag science based, like, and count it as a science credit. I don't know about doing that anymore, but I really enjoyed biology, even though I wasn't the best at it. I really enjoyed it. We actually talked about it with Bradford. You never let people retake your test. But you let me do it, because I showed up you said if you show up every morning before school and study with me. And I would show up. I showed up for like a week straight, I think. I don't remember how long it was, but it was a while. And we were going over stuff, and then I was coming into your class on homeroom, and yeah, so I appreciate that still.
You're welcome.
Got me to where I
am. I will say I do remember, I think it was Biology 1. It came to finals time, and we took it first semester. And Ethan Arthur's, you had one answer or one question on the very end of your test, and it said, "Do not pick me. Do not pick me. If you pick this, you're gonna fail the test. This is not the answer. This one is the answer." And that's what it literally said. And he circled, "If you pick this, you're gonna fail." And he failed. And I remember he was freaking out about the whole thing. And he talked to you about it. I don't know if you ever let him redo it. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember he failed.
Just wanted to see what happened. It was so funny. I had to take biology in college too, and it was like the same thing. I just couldn't understand it. Like, I was really good at the labs because it was all hands-on stuff, but when it was like the lectures or whatever, I mean, my class was like 10 people, and I couldn't understand it. I mean, I don't think I had the brain for it, but it was just like, took all these notes, color-coded them with what went together, and
it's not for everybody.
It's not, but I passed. I got my degree. I'm good. Oh man,
that's what I was doing in college. I was doing construction management actually, and I realized I'm actually really good at construction, hands-on,
but not management.
I don't really want to manage. Yeah, it's a lot to do a lot of management stuff. I mean, it taught me a lot, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather be the guy out there doing the work while the inspectors are over there, like, watching me, doing their notes or whatever. I like doing the part.
Right.
So college didn't last out. That's why I joined the union. But we'll move on to question number 3. How long have you taught in the Sherwood community, and how does it make you feel when others talk about how Sherwood is a good starter school?
So as I had said before, this is my 9th year with Sherwood. I've been thinking about this question a lot since you guys sent it to me, and I really struggle with this question because I get it. I get why some people do think of Sherwood as a starter school, but at the same time, my thoughts are really all over the place, so I apologize for being kind of scattered a little bit with them. I get frustrated with it because I feel like we do a disservice to our students, right? Because they need that consistency. And I think that's one of the things that I really love about Sherwood at the same time and the students is because they're very adaptable to the change and the constant changing of those teachers, that I think that has made them very resilient. I will say that I think that since I have been there for so long that we are starting to see more of the teachers stay. At least that's what I've seen. We haven't had a huge changeover in a while. And if it is, it's only been like 1 or 2 teachers, not those handful of teachers that we were seeing like when you guys were in high school. I just get frustrated because I sometimes think that the grass is not always greener on the other side, right? Like, you're gonna leave, like, I get leaving for maybe more money, but again, I think about that a lot, right? So I don't, and you know, as a teacher in general, we just don't make a lot of money, and yes, there are other schools that do pay better, but I think about what I have here and what I don't have to deal with. Like, I hear about these schools and kids fighting all the time. I don't have to deal with that. Exactly. Like, you guys are so respectful. Like, do bad things happen? Do kids get in trouble? Yes. But they're not wailing on each other every day in the hallway or picking fights all the time. And I just cannot imagine going to a school where that is the norm. And I get frustrated with that because, again, like, you're going to leave for more money, but what are you giving up to leave for more money?
Yep. That's actually a life lesson that my dad had taught me when I was a little younger. I decided to drop everything and do something else. I don't remember the circumstances that it was, but he sat me down because it was a pretty big deal, whatever it was, and he's like, look, I'm not going to tell you what you should do, but I know from experience that the grass is not always greener on the other side. And I remember he told me that in the front yard because I was being stubborn. I didn't want to listen to him. He don't know anything is what I was going through my head. But as soon as he said that, I remember the exact moment it just hit me. I'm like, wow. I mean, and looking back on it, I'm glad I listened to his advice because the grass isn't greener on the other side always. It's a good life lesson for sure.
Mm-hmm. And with the whole like fighting thing, like I just couldn't imagine like that just being normal. Like I have people that I work with tell me, you know, like, oh yeah, at my school we had a fight every other week. And I think Jonna told us when she came to Sherwood, like, oh, there was always fights in the hallway, and then there was always, you know, kids just cussing at their teachers, like nothing. Like I feel like if that were to happen at Sherwood, like the students and especially the teachers would they wouldn't let that slide.
Yeah.
Like especially if we were there, like I know we'd stick up for our teachers and. Yeah, just
especially
kids.
at like bigger schools. I feel like because that's just a normal occurrence that at say like at Lee's Summit School, you just let them fight it out because it happens so often and there's no point of you trying to get into it because they're just gonna keep on fighting.
Right.
At a smaller school, it's more like I'm sure fights do happen every once in a while, but it's gonna get broken up and they're not gonna do it again. Right. But at bigger schools, it's like straight up, they're gonna use whatever they can find to make that student hurt.
Right. Kids these days.
I'm telling you.
The world is getting to a crazy place for sure.
Yes. If you had the opportunity to go back to your college days, would you consider changing career paths, or would you take different career paths to work with other scientists, so like outside of teaching?
That's a really tough question. I really love my job and I really love teaching, and I really do think that it is where I am meant to be. However, I really wish there are times I should backtrack. There are times where I wish that I would have stuck out that pre-med and actually like pushed myself further, even though it got tough and it got really hard to remind myself that I am very capable of doing this, that things don't always need to come natural or easy.
Right.
Just to see where that path would take me. Like I've always as a kid, I've always wanted to be in a medical profession of some sort. And I think it's really cool to see like medical advances and to be a part of that. I think would be pretty awesome, and to be able to work with scientists that are doing some really incredible things. I think that would be really awesome to do. So to some degree, yes, I kind of wish I would have stuck it out, but that's what I would do, something in the medical career of some sort if I were not teaching.
Right. That's awesome. So it was pre-med you were doing? What does that entail?
So pre-med, you basically go in as an undergrad. You choose so I was biology with a pre-med major. You can actually choose any major you want with still an emphasis in pre-med. It's just basically that you're on slate that after you finish your undergrad that you're going to take the MCAT and you're going to apply to medical school and do all that is required of that.
Gotcha.
Basically.
I have heard that pre-med is probably one of the harder majors or career paths to go down through college anyways. I heard it's a lot of studying, a lot of homework. Yes. You gotta know your stuff. You can't, if you want to miss one day, you can't miss that day because it's so important.
Yes, very important, very rigorous. I mean, so much you gotta know, so much you gotta take up front and just to be ready for med school, like that gross anatomy. Like you're gonna take gross anatomy in med as a medical student, but they are expecting you to come in with some idea of the human body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to know your stuff. And that genetics class was really like, I don't know if I'm making the right. It was really hard, and I was like, I just don't know if this is the right for me. Like, if I can't get this, what else am I not going to be able to get? And I think it just scared me. And I just wish I could have told my younger self, stick it out. You've got this. It's just a little bump in the road, and you can manage it.
Right.
Yep. That was good.
We're almost to our confession. That's the last thing we're going to do. We got one more question for you, and then we get to the confession.
So we'll move on to question number 5. What makes the Sherwood community feel like a home/safe space, and what are some things you wish the community had, or even certain classes the community would add into for credits?
So one of the things that I absolutely love about the Sherwood community is that they are always so willing to help. It doesn't matter where you are at or what stage you are in, and I got to see that. I get to see it every year, but mostly this year I really saw the community come together. My STEM students that I had in my STEM club were fundraising to go to Ohio. This is probably one of the biggest fundraisers that I've ever had to do, and just see this pouring of people come in and donate to help us get to our goal of Ohio over the weekend was such a blessing, and it just makes you not lose faith in people, even though that they were donating money, but just in the ways that they were willing to help, in the way that they were willing to support, I just think is amazing. And I see that like in other ways, not just by donation of money, but helping those that are in need, even like our community donating shoes for Miss Everhart's FBLA program that she was doing, so that way they could earn money. Like they could have easily donated them to Goodwill or whatever that may be, but to see these shoe bags just arriving at school, maybe they knew her, maybe they didn't. Again, just that outpouring of help, and everybody always wanting to. I don't know what the right words are, but just at a loss for words, because it's just so impressive to see how well they help.
Right.
As far as the other part of that question, like the classes, again, I'm biased because I'm the science teacher. I'd love to see more science classes. I really would love, so my PLTW program has 4 biomed classes as a whole with them, and I'd really love to see all 4 of those offered, just because of the lab skills that are provided. I think is a great resource to students. Whether they choose to go on to a medical profession or not, like you said, you still have to take biology in college, and I think just having some of that lab makes you feel less unknown going into. And so I would really love to see those classes. I'd love to see some more engineering and STEM. Since Price's retirement, those classes that you had mentioned are not available at this current time. Maybe they will be in the future, but at this current time they're not. And so I'd really just would love to see more of that STEM-based education happening.
Right.
Those were for sure always a fun, like with Price when we were in middle school. It's always going to this class, we're gonna build a bridge out of popsicle sticks, and we put so many pennies on it to weigh and see how long it would last. And it's doing all these. It really makes as a middle schooler, the mind just expand into these cool ideas that you'd never think of doing.
Right.
And if you think about it in the real world of working, that's like what architects are doing daily. They're using steel beams to build a structure for a bridge or something.
Right.
And that's what those STEM classes are like, really brainstorming ideas to make something work.
Yes, and I think you kind of hit that on the head. It's really about those problem-solving skills. To me, it's not even about people will say, I'm not good at this, I don't think like a scientist, or don't. It's not even thinking. It's like, can you problem solve? Like, I want to see that you can problem solve it. There's always more than one way to do a particular job, as long as you stick within these parameters of what is being given to you. And so I think if we can work and hone those problem-solving skills, I think people benefit from that. Because, like you had said, it doesn't matter what job you are doing. If you are in construction, right, maybe something doesn't work, or those plans that were laid out have best intentions, but maybe something at that time is not working. How do you problem solve to fix that problem? Or if you're coming in and fixing someone else's problem,
that happens.
How do you how do you solve that to make it right without costing that customer or whatever it may be even more money than what they've already shelled out? So.
And with the donations part, I feel like with any club, any just fundraiser that the school would have, like the community was just like, with not a blink of an eye, like for what was it? What's it called? It was FFA. We trick or treated for canned goods.
Yes.
We've never been turned down by a house. We've never came up empty handed. Like, I think one time my team, we got like 800 things in like 2 hours. So it was just like. It was great.
They're always willing to figure out some way to help. They may not be able to give a lot, but they figure out a way to help. And I just love that. Like, they're not saying, no, I can't. They figure out a way. And I just love that. I love that community base. But even, like, through the students and, like, not just like their donations, but also giving rides to students when they need it
Oh, for
as
sure.
well. Like willing to help, like teams and like practices staying after activity buses and stuff like that, and players willing to give other players ride home so they can be a part of that team.
Mm-hmm.
Just shows what a growing community we have, and I just absolutely love that.
It's great. It really, like, I guess it kind of helps shape who we are. Like, we can depend on one another. We can, like, I mean, I know me and Travis would share rides places all the time. Like, I was picking up people who I don't really ever talk to. Like, I mean, knowing that they can come and ask somebody for a ride. Like, it's nice. It's safe. That's when Travis said Sherwood's a safe place. I mean, it really was. Like, it was a place we were just a big family, it felt like.
Yes, and I felt that. I'm not gonna lie. In the beginning of my teaching career, that first year, I was like, I don't know what I've signed up for. Like, this is a little. Please keep in mind that I came from the city, so our pace was very fast, and you all moved at a very slow pace, and I did not know if I was going to be able to handle that pace.
Yeah.
But as things progressed, I'm like, it's nice to, like, this felt good to slow down and, like, really, like,
Right.
see, again, everybody just, in a roundabout way, loving on everyone, and I just couldn't see myself leaving because it really did start to feel like family. I felt like I was a part of a family.
And then, like, the support during COVID was just amazing. Like, the teachers were just reaching out, making sure we were doing okay mentally, and, like, doing everything they could to just make it seem less unnormal. Like, just make us feel good. And I spit all over my mic, but but like, no, it was just like, that's what made it so hard to leave, is like, like, we had all this support. I mean, there's still teachers who, I mean, we had no problem messaging you, and knowing we had no problem messaging anybody after that. So it's just like, it's just great. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's different.
I remember growing up through high school, you couldn't miss school on a game day or whatever. I remember, like, the prince, like, Himes, or even before Himes' time, like, Stackhouse, he'd go to the kids' house, pick them up because they had no ride to school, and they had to be there because you got to count everyone, because our school's so small, everyone on a team, they play a part.
Matters,
they got to be there. And they'd go out of their way in the morning. They might show up a little late, but they'd go pick them up and bring them to school. And sure enough, they'd be able to play because, I mean, if it wasn't for out the teachers for sure, then I think Sherwood wouldn't be as great as a community, because the teachers are so heartfelt and they're always there for one another if any student were to go through a hard time. That's what I like about Sherwood.
I mean, I think from a teacher standpoint, that's one of the things that I also have really loved about our community, because all the teachers, one, are so willing to help and give whatever they need, but also from that teacher and that colleague standpoint, that if we're going through it, like, we know that we have these people to rely on, like, they're willing to come in and cover our class if we're struggling with whatever it may be. And just, like, the outpouring of, hey, even like a meal train, like, if they're having surgery or something like that, like, just, again, seeing that outpouring and coming together to be able to help, it does feel like family, and I just don't know where else you could go that would truly, like, these bigger schools that would really make you feel like that.
Right.
That you speak of meal train, I do remember a good handful of times whenever the Sherwood community would go out and ask to help out this family because they had surgery or something. I remember my parents, a couple different times, we'd bake like a dish or whatever, and we'd go to their house and give it to them. Whatever the circumstance was, we were always helping out.
Oh,
And
for sure.
many other families were doing, because they'd have like a month worth of like a log you'd fill out, and everyone, the slots would be filled instantly.
Yes.
And everyone would be trying to get on it, and then they kind of feel bad because it's filled up so fast. Like, well, I don't know what to do now because,
Right.
I mean, they already have everything so far.
I remember, so my house burnt down when I was 8 or 9, and I just remember I got called to the office, and it was like a while. It was, I don't even know how far into the day it was, and they're like, hey, your grandpa's going to come pick you up today. I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, and I guess what happened was, because I normally rode the bus, is that we got so much money in fundraising, they didn't feel safe sending it with me on the bus. So, like, my grandpa came, and they had to make trips to the car. And I'm like, wow. Like, thinking back on it, it's like, it's pretty sweet.
It's crazy, yeah.
Right.
A lot of
support, for sure. Oh, are you scared to tell her this confession?
I'm a little nervous.
Are you ready for the confession?
I'm nervous.
Well, let's think about it. Sophomore year, what was that, like
6 years ago.
7 years ago?
We graduated 4 years ago, give or take, and then -2. Yeah. Or add 2. Yeah.
About 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting our new segment, If We Have a Confession, and obviously we have one today for this episode. So, we'll do one confession with
one teacher
and 2 nervous people.
Former students, yeah.
Two nervous former students.
I think this teacher is so nervous.
One nervous teacher, 2 nervous students.
Yeah. I can't really think about the whole situation. It clicked in my head today when I was writing these notes up, actually, and it came to my train of thought. I remember one time you missed school and we had a substitute. I think it was Miss Borum, I believe. And we were doing a lab that day because you didn't want, it was a really hard class, or whatever we were going over was kind of hard, and she didn't really have the knowledge for it, so you weren't going to have her teach it because you wanted you to be there to teach us it the proper way. And so we went to the lab. We were doing stuff with those beakers, the glass beakers, and me and Pierce were working together, and we were pulling them out of the cabinet, and we dropped it, and it shattered. Well, which is no big deal. We dropped one. It's no biggie. Then we pull another one and we put it on the counter. Knocked it off. Broke another one. And then we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to get in trouble. And she hadn't heard it yet because she was a little older, so she didn't have the best hearing. She didn't hear the breaks. We cleaned it up, got all the spells done, pulled out another one. And we're making jokes like, oh, let's break this one too. I'm making a joke.
Because we weren't doing it on purpose, by the way. We were not.
Next thing I know, the beaker slips out of my hand, hits the ground. We broke 3 beakers in one day. In less than, I'd say 10 minutes. We broke 3 beakers.
You say we, but you were pulling them out of the cabinet.
Yeah.
I was in the, what was it? I was in that crime, but I wasn't part of it.
Yeah. That's our confession.
How do you feel?
You're the one costing me money, huh?
How do you feel about this confession?
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm glad you're okay. Hopefully you guys didn't get any cuts from the glass.
We're good.
I can't believe Miss Borum didn't write it down because she writes down everything. Because I don't remember that being in some. I feel like I would remember that if she were to write that on some sub notes.
Sure.
That
I think we've been in a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I was freaking out. I was like, man, I'm gonna get ISS. I'm gonna get kicked out of school. I just broke 3 beakers, and Miss Ketner's not even here. But now, looking back at it, 6-7 years ago, the pressure's finally off my chest. I'm glad I was able to spill.
You can sleep at night again.
Yeah. A lot of sleepless nights thinking about that time.
Thinking about breaking 3 beakers.
I don't, like, it's such a blur, but I kind of remember, like, just my face when he dropped the 3rd one, and I'm just like, he had to have been on purpose, or his hands were just sweaty from being nervous.
Are they large beakers or smaller beakers?
They were the large ones.
Oh, no wonder.
Were they large ones?
Yeah, well, the first one, we had a small one on the first one, and then everyone else had the small one, so I go, well, we have to go to the large ones, and the last 2. The 2 out of 3 were large ones.
What were you guys even doing? I don't even remember.
I don't
they were
either.
left with beakers.
It was something with the magnetic, like a bead, and it'd spin at the bottom of the glass. It was like on a magnet.
Yeah.
And we were doing, I don't remember what, it was a lot of food dye, and we were using it as like chemicals, or I don't remember exactly what it was. I just remember we broke 3 beakers.
My goodness.
We actually only started this podcast just to confess it to you so you wouldn't get mad at us. Outside of this. We have evidence if anything happens. All right, everyone. That was 5 real questions, 5 real answers with 3 real people, and 1 confession, 1 nervous teacher, and 2 nervous former students. And that brings us to everyone's second favorite segment, which is the hypothetical question of the week. All right. If you could go back and uninvent something, what invention would you erase from history?
I would erase the cell phone.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Like, I would be okay with, like, telephones and, like, dialing and that kind of stuff. But
or, like,
those things, those smartphones, because they, like...
Take away...
They take away so much, yes. I mean, I think it's I don't know, I'm so torn when I say that, though, honestly, because it is a really great tool to have and to be able to have that, but I also think we abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
that and its capabilities, and I just think it is the reason for many problems that we have in the world right now.
Right.
A lot of cyberbullying, a lot of just younger kids, and not even just younger kids. I'll say I'm a victim myself, and just always on my phone when I have free time, and I'll just be scrolling through TikTok for hours. I'm like, what in the world?
Like time flies when you're on your phone.
Yes. I think that's why I would get rid of it, is because there's so many more things we could be doing with our time, but it's also, like you mentioned, that bullying.
Yep.
And I just, now that I have kids, I think about what that future is going to mean and what are those devices going to look like when my kids are older, and what does that mean for them. But that's also, you know, mental illness that is increasing and stuff like that, and to see, you know, other, you know, children, people in pain because of something that was said to them on a phone versus what was said in person. It's amazing how many people can hide with their cell phone but would not say what they could type to somebody's face. And I don't know, as a society, I feel like we're losing that social connection with people. Yes, we are very social, but at the same time, that actual being in the room, like, you can go into the lunchroom and you can see all of these kids, like, just typing away on their phone, and they're literally having conversations with each other on their phone, but not face to face at the lunch
next
table.
To someone sending them stuff.
Yes.
Right. I think the only time we were on our phones in the lunchroom was when we were taking videos of each other doing dumb stuff. Because I have at least 500 videos of me and Travis and Hunter and Colin, Dustin and Ethan at one lunch table, and just doing the most random things you could, like, it wasn't even funny, it was just stupid.
But I do and again, this is why it's such a hard one for me too, because, like, again, you're capturing these moments, right? Whether it was dumb or not dumb, you still had a way to capture them and re-look and be like, remember when we did such and such? But I also think about, like, my kids, and, you know, like, I tend to forget sometimes because I will be in the moment with my kids, and then sometimes I'm like, man, I really wish I would have captured that moment or something like that. So I love that they provide that to us, but at the same time, like, there's still, like, those memories that you get to conjure in your brain and what that brings, and to be able to tell that story versus, oh, here, just take a look. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
no, that
it's kind
for
of,
sure makes sense.
I don't know.
They're a good thing, but
pros and cons.
Mainly hurting the society for the most part, taking a lot of time away. Because I remember, I mean, I'm sure it's just getting worse and worse as younger kids are getting phones and they just want to play games And nowadays, the internet's so crazy that you don't even know who you're talking to a lot of times. If you're on some random app or something, you could be talking to a really old guy or a really young person that you don't know, and they can say, oh, yeah, I'm 13 too, which most likely they're probably not 13,
Yeah.
A lot of dangers come with it, for sure.
Yes, and I think that's part of the problem too, is because then how do we educate, right? You know, that's the big thing. Like, again, going back to my children and my daughter, I know as a teacher these things, like, occur, but at the same time, like, there's only so much education that you can provide. Those, you know, men or even females for that matter can disguise themselves, and while you can maybe see some of those, like, I don't know what the words are that I'm looking for, but, like, signs maybe that they are an actual adult versus, but still to teach your children is very hard to do. And again, they don't come with, you know, like a manual of, like, know these things. Like, you just have to make sure that your kids have that maturity to be able to handle that. But I think that's hard because people are very, very deceptive.
Right.
And now, not even nowadays with the, like, AIs and stuff, now you can just be talking to robots now.
Right.
Telling them, I mean, I know I'm big into conspiracy theories and whatnot, but I'm sure all that data is tracked somewhere, saved somewhere, so it's just weird, you know. It's cool that we have all this technology, and it's just going to get more progressive as we go. And heck, even in a couple years, I'm sure, like, even in, like, my construction industry that I work in, I went to a GPS class, and they were telling us what's in testing, and it's kind of scary because it can steal a lot of work from us. At the same time, it's cool, and no one has to be in the machine doing whatever or whatnot. And it's cool to think about it, but at the same time, it's like, man, that could be my job. Like, they could take over my job, you know?
Right.
Well, and to that point, like, it's funny that you bring that up because and not to get off topic, but I have a colleague that is working on her master's. And right now, it's really hard to find teachers in the math and in the sciences. And so, like, this research paper that she's working on is about, well, okay, if we can't find these teachers, then what are we going to do for these students, right? And so that's where that technology piece comes into, right? Putting them in front of a computer and having them. And it got me to thinking about, okay, well, if that truly is, well, now that we have the possibilities of AI, well, if we can't hire these math and science teachers, does that mean that English might become next? I mean, right, teachers don't make a lot of money. And are we going to be okay with having, like, if AI is so readily available and if AI can almost do my job for me, like, that's kind of a scary, like, thing to think about.
Yeah.
And what does that mean for those lessons and what they're getting? I don't just teach the material. I am also a mom and I play many hats in my role. And so, like, if we were to, have just that AI doing that, then again, we're still losing that social connection, and that's scary to think about.
It is. That was good.
That was good.
Honestly, I could go a couple more hours talking about this, just because it's so, there's so much. Like, I didn't even think about the GPS thing I was talking about until I said it, but now I'm thinking, wow, it's just crazy. Like, who knows? Like, years from now, like, whenever I have kids in the future, maybe when they're adults, that's not even an option. Like, teachers don't even make much now, so who knows? Because we're losing teachers like crazy because they're not paying them enough, as they should be, anyways. And I don't know. There's a lot to it,
Right. Well, what would you want to invent?
If I was
it the same thing?
Well,
like technology.
That is good, stuff. But if I was to uninvent one thing, I would have to go. Man, I don't even know. The technology one really hit it off.
I think
that's all I'm thinking about right now. But one thing that I'd uninvent.
I got one that has nothing to do with technology. That really makes me upset.
I think I'd uninvent, like, well, it's not really an invention. I get it. Can I do an establishment?
Sure.
I'd probably uninvent all the, like, a lot of the politics. There's just so much, and it's just two sides. It makes people fight.
Apart.
Yeah, everyone just fights over it because they want one thing and the other person wants one thing, and they're just gonna keep fighting.
They can't agree on it. Right.
With the government and everything in the world's going crazy anyways, and it's only gonna get crazier, I'm sure. And a lot of it has to do with politics and government. And if I could rephrase it, I'd say money, but because money controls everything. You have to have money to live. And I say I'd uninvent the currency system, but at the same time, I don't know what we would do. If money was never a thing, what would we be doing to use as money?
But wouldn't that take us back to the days of, like, bartering and stuff, right?
Right.
Because that's what they used to do before that really came in, is like, okay, well, like, think about your farmers, right? Yeah. Okay, well, I have milk, but I can hem a dress or what, like, you exchanged for, and think about if we all, again, that goes back to that whole helping, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all have something to offer someone, whether you farm or not. I mean, we're all good at something in some way,
right?
And so
I'd have to go with the money and the government, just because, sadly, you think about it, if you're not in the hierarchies of the politicians and whatnot, you're not going to be anything to anyone ever. You're just another human working your normal 9-to-5 job for the rest of your life.
Right.
But if you're up in the powers with them and you're making a lot of money, I'm sure it is super stressful too, but they're making ridiculous amounts of money just to make people fight more,
Right.
And it's kind of sad to think about, but what about you?
Mine's not as serious as both of yours. Yours were both very good answers.
Yours probably like cupcakes or something.
No, fast food establishments.
Yeah, that's good.
Really?
That's good.
If you look at me, I love fast food establishments. So if those go away, it would do me a favor. But I don't know. Just something about, like, sitting down with your family, going out and eating, and just enjoying it with them. I get, like, it's so simple. Just go through drive-through, order what you want, get it. You pay them, get it. But, like, there, you sit down, you have time to sit and talk before you eat your food and sit and talk while you're waiting. Like, it's just, like what your families did back like before technology and whatnot. So like I don't know. I just think that if places really worried more about the cult like sit down places are just so nice for families and friends even like we do that once a week. Me and you and your wife go out and we go out and eat. We all talk and we have fun and I don't know. That's pretty simple.
That's good, but I was also thinking about like the nutrition side of it.
It'd be way better.
Yeah, because I remember growing up. I mean, we lived out on a farm out in the country. There's nothing around our community really to go out to eat. I mean, if you drive to Harrisonville, you go get McDonald's or Taco Bell. I mean, they're growing now to get different restaurants and whatnot and fast food places. But most of the time, we're always coming home late from sports, so it's always we're gonna have pork chops. It's always something grilled. And now thinking about it, since I moved up to the city, it's a lot of fast food everywhere. And it's just so convenient. Oh, yeah, we'll drive over there, 10-minute drive, pick up something, come home, eat it 10 minutes, and then go on with our day. And it does the same with technology, like you had said, and Miss Ketner had mentioned. It just takes away a lot of it because we'd set the kitchen table for hours. Just talking about how our days was, and what we did, and what just miscellaneous things.
Nowadays, like if you go pick up fast food, like I mean, I only see it on movies because we're not really like that. Like we don't pick up food and just you get home, like food's here, like we all go and sit at the table and we talk.
Yeah.
But like I really like just going out. Like it makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. Like it's been a long week, we deserve this. So I don't know.
That was good.
All right.
It's really funny that you bring this up because I literally just had a student ask me, it was very random, but they were asking me, like, what time does my family eat? And your questions make me think about that because, like, with my family, like, first of all, what time do you serve dinner? And then I was also asked, does your family sit at the dinner table or do you guys like split and take and go, or do you sit in front of the TV? And just really got me thinking about how families are so different because I grew up that dinner was always served at 6. And depending, like when I was a teenager, that was a little bit different because I worked and stuff like that. But I always knew that dinner would be put on the table at 6 p.m. So if I needed dinner, I had to be home at 6.
Right.
And it just, I don't know, got me thinking about like my kids because I want to instill that family time with them and talk about our days and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And we do enjoy like eating out. It's nice to get together with, your friends or your family and sit around the table and have those kind of, discussions. And when you do that fast food, you really can't always do that. And then I think about today, Addison and I were out running errands, and what did I do? I ran through McDonald's. You know what I mean? So it's
but you were together.
But yes, we were together. We did sit and eat, but yeah.
I will say, along with people, how you were saying, people, do they sit at the dinner table and have like a family tradition and eat there? Because I know a lot of people that growing up, I mean, I can't say their family was weird because that's not right for me to say. It was just different from what I was used to doing. Mm-hmm. They'd come home with, say, McDonald's or something, and they'd all get their food and they go to their rooms.
Yeah.
And
can't do it.
It's kind of weird looking back on now. I'm sure, and back then they used to have like an actual dining room. Nowadays it's you try to fit a kitchen table in your kitchen and make that your dining room. But back then they have a specific room that was
designed like there's a light over where the table would be.
Traditions are dying, I could say.
Yeah. Well,
it's just weird to think about.
It's just a place for your family to gather.
Yeah.
Friends. Yeah. Well, we want to thank you for coming on and taking this time out of this beautiful Monday to sit and answer our questions that in our confession.
We're gonna get an invoice later.
Yeah, for 2 large beakers and a small one. Is there anything you have for us or anybody out there you want to say?
No, but thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. I was a little nervous about doing this.
I do want to ask you one question. What do you think about this podcast?
I think it's cool. Not gonna lie, I was really excited when I saw it in the very beginning, and I did listen, and then my life got really busy, and I have several episodes that I need to get caught back up on, but I think it's really cool, and I love that you guys are doing this. I think this is neat.
It's fun. It's really fun just seeing our friends and teachers again.
I think who was our first teacher? Jonna? Well, I think after we had Jonna come on, I feel like when we came at other teachers, they were kind of iffy, like, oh, I don't really want to be on there. But I feel like once we got Jonna on, it opened up a gateway to, like, ensure other teachers that we potentially could have on, like, not feel, like, Oh, that's stupid.
Like, we're not trying to have like a stupid type show. I mean, yes, we are Pierce and Travis, you know. We're known for being dumb sometimes, but like we just like, you know, we heard your guys' stories growing up, so we want people to hear those too. And you know, we trust you guys with the knowledge, and we figured everyone else should be able to hear that. I mean, we have 40 viewers a week, but still, it's mostly people who've been around, but it's just really fun.
It's super fun for us,
and we really appreciate you coming. It's not easy scheduling people and putting a little podcast in a bedroom on your schedule.
I'm not gonna lie, when Travis messaged me, I'm like, they want me? And I'm like, this has got to be some joke, right? Like, you want me on a podcast? Like, who would want me? And then I'm not gonna lie, then I called my husband and I'm like, so former students reached out to me about a podcast, and I don't know what to say or what to do. He's like, you should do it. It would be fun. And so I'm thankful that he kind of pushed me, and I don't know. This was fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. Neat. Yeah.
So thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you for coming on.
Oh, all right. Well, everyone, thank you for... Oh, wait, do you have anything before we turn this off?
No. Don't forget, you can find us at @thelunchtable_podcast24 on a couple different platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
There you go.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share, and give us many shout-outs. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's been another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast, and we will see you next week.
I'll watch you walk away. The stars are falling right in place. I'll watch you walk away. You stole my heart from inside of me.